In this lesson, I'm going to discuss 7 of the most common grammar mistakes that English learners make. And some of these mistakes are not what you would expect. They say that mistakes are the best way to learn, but that's only true if you realize that you're making a mistake. And if you're not receiving corrections from a teacher or a native speaker, then it's very easy to make the same mistakes again and again. So today, we're going to analyze some sentences. I'll tell you exactly why they're wrong and how to fix them so that you can improve your English and sound more natural. I've also created a free PDF worksheet with all of the notes and information from today's lesson. You can find the link in the description below. Let's get started with a mistake that I hear all the time. I'm agree or I'm disagree. In English, agree and disagree are verbs, so we don't use the verb be before these words. The correct way to say this would be, I agree or I disagree. If you say that you agree with someone, that means you have the same opinion as them. And if you disagree, you have a different opinion. In this context, you can agree or disagree with someone or about something. I agree with you. He agrees with me. We disagree all the time. During the meeting, they agreed about some things, but they strongly disagreed about others. Sometimes you can see these verbs followed by the preposition on, but the meaning is usually different. For example, if a team finally agreed on a plan, it means that they decided to accept something after a discussion. Mistake number 2. I enjoyed. You enjoyed what? The correct sentence should be, I enjoyed it. When we construct sentences in English, we always try to immediately answer the first question that our brain is asking. If you don't do this with verbs that require something, the sentence will feel incomplete. It feels like when you're listening to the radio and the person next to you turns it off right before the end of the song. No, we have to know how the song ends. We need to feel that sense of satisfaction. The verb enjoy is a transitive verb. This means that the verb requires one object. Here are some other examples of transitive verbs. The boy kicked the ball. She likes to sing. We bought a new car. Remember that transitive verbs always require an object, even if we already know what or who you're talking about. Did you decide to buy that car you were telling me about? Oh yeah, I bought it. My cousin went to the Taylor Swift concert last night. Did she have a good time? Yeah, she really enjoyed it. In English, each verb has a different requirement. Some verbs require one object, some require two, and some require none. Every time you learn a new verb, make sure that you also learn what the verb requires so you know exactly how to use it in a sentence. A good dictionary will always tell you this information. Let's look at mistake number 3. Can you explain me this? When you use the verb explain in English, you explain something to someone. The correct sentence should be, can you explain this to me? If information about the person is necessary in a specific context, use an indirect object. I explained the situation to my manager. But the indirect object is only necessary if it's not clear from context exactly who receives the explanation. Can you explain this? And I explained the situation are perfectly fine. It's also correct to explain to someone what, why, how, etc. Let me explain what happened. Can you explain to everyone why you were late? I can't explain how it works. The tour guide explained to the tourists where they were going. Okay, of everything on today's list, number 4 is the most important mistake to stop making. I want that you help her. When I notice my students making this mistake, it's usually because they're trying to directly translate the structure of the sentence from their native language to English. The correct sentence should be, I want you to help her. Some textbooks and courses consider this an advanced structure, but I disagree. It's much better to learn this earlier in your journey to fluency. Let's take a step back and look at a simpler sentence. I want to help her. In this sentence, I am the subject, and I am also the person who would help. However, in English, when the subject and the object are different, some verbs require a different structure. Subject, in this case, someone, plus verb, plus object, in this case, someone else, plus infinitive. Remember, an infinitive is to plus the base form of a verb. So now we know that there's a difference between I need to go to the store and I need you to go to the store. This doesn't happen with all verbs that require an infinitive, but it happens with some verbs that express concepts such as necessity. I need you to call me after work. Preference or desire. I want them to work harder. Requests or suggestions. We asked him not to smoke inside. Put not before the infinitive to make it negative. This is not a complete list of verbs, so I've included more information about this in the PDF worksheet. Now that you know this, really focus on learning which verbs require this pattern so you can lay the foundation to build even more complicated sentences in the future. Let's move on to mistake number 5. I went to there last week. The correct sentence is, I went there last week. Go is a verb of motion. Other examples of motion verbs are come, move, return, walk, and drive. It's very common to see a verb of motion followed by the preposition to. For example, I need to go to the store, or she's walking to the park. We only use to before a noun, like the store or the park. We can see that they're nouns because of the article the. However, there is an adverb that has multiple meanings. It can mean at or in a place, like I live there, but also there means to a place or in the direction of a place. When you use this word, it replaces the entire prepositional phrase. I need to go to the store, or I need to go there. She's walking to the park, or she's walking there. In other situations where there means in or at a place, the same rule applies. I was a college student in Korea. I loved living in Korea, or I loved living there. In there is incorrect. The same thing happens with many adverbs of place. There, here, somewhere, anywhere, home. Yes, home can be an adverb. It's incorrect to say go to home. We say go home. Mistake number 6. The concert will start at 7 o'clock. Now, this sentence doesn't look incorrect at first glance, but there's something very unnatural about the word will in this context. The correct sentence would be, the concert starts at 7 o'clock, or the concert is going to start at 7 o'clock. In English, we prefer to use the simple present tense or be going to talk about events that are scheduled for some time in the future. In fact, when there's a scheduled event with a date or a time that you can't control, the most natural tense is the simple present tense. The plane arrives at 1:30 tomorrow afternoon. Next semester starts on January 2nd and ends on May 10th. If there's a future plan that you can control, it sounds most natural to use the present continuous or be going to. I'm spending Thanksgiving with my family this year. I'm going to spend Thanksgiving with my family this year. We're going to a new restaurant after work. We're going to go to a new restaurant after work. Yes, it's fine to say going to go. Okay, so if we don't use will with future plans or scheduled events, then when can we use it? You usually hear will when someone is making a prediction or a promise. Don't worry, everything will be okay. Really, this is only a prediction. I wish I could see the future, but we never know what will happen. Call me when you arrive at the hotel. I will. Speaker B is making a promise to Speaker A. Mistake number 7. I like so much this movie. Again, this is another situation where students are translating the word order from their native language to English. The correct sentence would be, I like this movie so much. This one is related to mistake number 2. You must use the object if the verb is transitive. In addition to this, if the verb requires an object, make sure that you never separate them. Keep the verb and the object right next to each other. I watch all the time that show. No, I watch that show all the time. Remember to think about the question that our brain is trying to answer first. I watch what? The show. Now, when? All the time. I have to improve a lot my Spanish. No, I have to improve what? My Spanish. How much? A lot. Another tip. The most natural position for time information is at the end of the sentence. There are exceptions, but that's usually for emphasis or contrast. For example, a few years ago, I used to drink coffee twice a day. Now, I never drink it. All right, what was the most helpful piece of advice that you learned from today's video? Were there any mistakes you didn't realize you were making? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If this lesson was useful, please like this video and subscribe to my channel to continue receiving tips to improve your English skills. I'm Gina, and you can learn more about me and my classes at yourworldinenglish.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye!